Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and welcome to our July 30th meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. My name is Andy Hunthausen. To my left, Commissioner Tom Rolfe.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
And to his left, Brandy Spangler, who'll be taking care of us today. Good morning, Brandy. My right, Commissioner Candace Payne. Good morning.
Good morning.
And we have Keegan Shea from he's the Deputy County Attorney from the County Attorney's Office, of course, and Roger Baltz, our Chief Administrative Officer. Good morning, gentlemen. There is a sign-in sheet in the front as well as agendas. Please sign in prior to leaving so we have a good record of who's attended our meeting. And with that, we will start. We don't have any consent action items, Mr. Baltz. So we will start with item number 3 on the agenda, which is Resolution 2024-77 to establish Stage 1 fire restrictions. And we have Under Sheriff Colbert with us and our DES staff, which is Kyle Sturgill-Simon. Good morning. And we have Fire Chief Rocky Infinger from Wolf Creek. So welcome, gentlemen.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, good morning. I am Under Sheriff Brent Colbert from the Sheriff's Office. If you would allow us today to start with the fire conditions that we have out there, I'm going to turn it over to Rocky so he can explain those.
Good morning, Commissioners. You're going to run that for me? So just going to go through some brief stuff, kind of update you on where we are with some things.
We introduced him, but go ahead and introduce yourself for the record,
sorry.
Rocky.
Rocky Infinger, Fire Chief, Wolf Creek Craig Fire Service Area, also represent the Lewis and Clark Rural Fire Council.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
So we all know the Horse Gulch fire. That was the large one we had just beginning of the month. In Montana so far, we've had 22 fires over 100 acres. I've burnt 73,720 acres at a cost of a little over 37 million. 12 of those were lightning, 7 were unknown, 3 were human caused. Nationally, as of this morning, we have 89 uncontained large fires burning in the U.S. That was over 100 a little while ago. So I think you guys have all heard about all these different fires. Oregon has 5 fires that are over 100,000 acres right now. So what that means for us is resources can be pretty thin, trying to get those depending on the priority of the fire. Currently, in the preparedness level nationally, we're at PL5, and in the Northern Rockies, which we reside in, we're at PL4. And there's just some quick facts of some significant fire years and when we went to those levels. You can go ahead. This is it. It only goes to level 5. And so full commitment of national resources is ongoing. The NIC coordinates resources requests. Potential for emerging significant wildland fires is high and expected to remain high in multiple geographical areas. So we yet aren't in August, and August is generally a pretty hot month for us. So go ahead. So I'm going to talk about some of the fire danger stuff out there and focus on the ERCs, energy release components. These are, Forest Service uses these. They're the different zones that they're utilizing. And you can see we're in South Prairie, FDRA 1. As we go north into 2 and then further north 3 and 4 up by the Blackfeet. Go ahead. So the ER in FDR 1, we are at 99.1. We're at extreme. The observed fire danger is extreme. They're extreme in all of those. And you can look at the different ones. We're at 98.6 and 2, which is pretty much the rest of the county. Go ahead. These are the charts. The red line is the max it's ever been. And the blue or purple, however you want to look at that, is where we are. So we're just going to quickly go through the 4 different zones. And you can see by the blue line, go ahead, where we sit with all of these. Continuing. So West Central Montana, Northern Rockies, Zone 11. Again, this shows where we set the purple or blue, is we're up at 95th percentile or something. So go ahead. This is 1,000-hour fuels. Again, the red is the lowest it's ever been. The blue is where we currently sit.
I don't want to interrupt you, but tell us what
But-
that means, 1,000-hour fuel.
1,000-hour fuels are the bigger fuels, 3-inch or I think it's 3-inch or bigger. They're the larger logs that are out there. There's also a 10,000-hour, which are the big stuff. But these don't generally change that much. This rainstorm today will change that percentage, but not very much because it's not going to absorb into it. It will change the grasses and the smaller fuels, pine needles, stuff like that, but it's not going to change 100 or the thousands very much. So you're going to see a change in that chart, but it's not going to be real significant. And we have weather coming in today, some moisture. We're going back to hot weather on Wednesday. So this is just a quick little issue for us because it's going to bring lightning and winds. So go ahead. This is what August looks like over the US, kind of above normal temperatures. Go ahead. And below normal precipitation for August. So normally August is a dry month, dry, hot month. So nothing really unusual about this. And that's it. So I guess if you folks have questions, I have no update, Brent, Mike, on the Lincoln fire that's currently going on, but I just know I've heard about 65 acres is all.
So from a forecasting or conditions perspective, Rocky, the conditions are about as bad as we've seen them.
Yeah,
About as bad.
ERCs are at record levels or getting to record levels. So
Super dry.
Yep.
and Very hot.
just a start away from a major issue. And it's always right now, the problem is getting resources. I think locally, agencies, we can staff IA fires, initial attack fires, volunteers, things are looking okay with them. Sometimes with some of the smaller departments, it may be a timing thing. During the day, people may be working, so it may be a little more difficult, but we haven't heard anything about any department saying, I've got a problem. So, and we're all here to support the other departments. So along with the NRC, Forest Service, whoever else we need. So,
Right. And I'm not trying to push this to scare people, though people should be aware, but the one type of fire we have general control over is the human caused fires. So
Yes.
those are the ones that we really can make a difference on if everybody's paying attention out there.
yeah, human caused are a problem, and that's a variety of those, whether it's chains pulling a trailer or somebody blowing a tire, and there's all kinds of human type caused fires. But yeah, we can have an effect on that. So we just don't need to pay attention and keep our eyes open. So
Commissioners, this part is on the current conditions. Any questions or comments for Rocky?
Trust your judgment very much.
thank you.
Right.
I just have a question. I'm aware that there is a big fireworks event planned in the next couple of weeks out here in the valley. And I'm sure it's licensed and bonded and everything else they can do. Are they going to be able to put that on? Do you know?
I, at this point, don't believe there's any restrictions on fireworks. We would hope common sense would take over, but I believe we get into that when we get into stage 2, but campfires and smoking outside of a vehicle is what stage 1 fire restrictions are. But,
Okay.
We could move to stage 2 by
Okay.
the end of the week. We don't know. So
Okay. But someone is keeping an eye on that.
I would assume that the jurisdiction that is taking place in is well aware of it and prepared for it. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Under Sheriff Colbert again, if you would allow me, this is why we're here, is for a proclamation for stage 1 fire restrictions which Kyle will do here in just a minute. If you would allow me, the sheriff couldn't be here today, but he has some points that I will try to get across here. The proclamation for stage 1 fire has been written to remain consistent with the United States Forest Service and Department of Natural Resources, plus our surrounding counties. The sheriff is recommending as the fire warden that you enact and proclaim of stage 1 fire restrictions. All of the indicators that you just saw right there, the data shows that the grass is dry in the forest and none of it is getting better anytime soon. We have all conferred with fire chiefs of Lewis and Clark County, and the majority vote says yes in agreement with the decision for this proclamation. So with that, if I can answer any questions, or I'll turn it over to Kyle to read the proclamation, if that's good with you guys.
Thank you very much, Under Sheriff. Any questions at this time? Okay. Kyle, if you want to read the resolution, it'd be great.
Yeah, sure thing. Kyle Sturgill-Simon, Emergency Management, Lewis and Clark County. So the resolution reads, whereas this resolution is issued in compliance with section 733-2205 of the Montana Code Annotated, whereas the Lewis and Clark Rural Fire Council has recommended stage 1 fire restrictions to the fire warden, and whereas high temperatures and low precipitation have caused dry fuel and poor soil moisture conditions resulting in a high wildland fire danger. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the following acts are prohibited on private and public property in Lewis and Clark County effective July 30th, 2024, upon approval and signature of the Board of County Commissioners. Number 1, being building, maintaining, attending, or using a fire or campfire unless noted in the exceptions below. Number 2, being smoking, except within an enclosed vehicle or building, developed recreation site, or while stopped in an area at least 3 feet in diameter that is barren or cleared of all flammable materials. Be it further resolved that the following is a list of exemptions. Campfires on private or public property only if they are within an improved fire ring or pit made of solid metal, stone, or cement and no larger than 48 inches across. Persons with a written permit that specifically authorizes the otherwise prohibited act. Persons with a device solely fueled by liquid petroleum or liquid petroleum gas fuels that can be turned on and off. Persons conducting activities in those designated areas where the activity is specifically authorized by written posted notice. Any federal, state, or local officer or member of an organized rescue or firefighting force in the performance of an official duty. All land within a city boundary is exempted, and other exemptions unique to each agency and tribe.
Thank you very much. Questions, commissioners, about this resolution? So in terms of getting the word out, how's that going to happen? If people have questions, those kinds of things, which will likely happen. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be posting everywhere we can, website, social media and whatnot, getting the message out. You know, it's important to note that there are exceptions to this campfire. So it's not saying no campfires, but what we are asking is that people be smart about it. And then also be cognizant that calling in a campfire that's legal is going to be putting a strain on our local firefighting forces. So we're trying to make sure that everybody is aware of what is allowed and what isn't, and getting that message out.
Great. And then in addition to that, if people are wondering, how do we get to this point? And we just heard about the conditions out there. So the conditions are ripe for taking this action, but it doesn't happen without, as Under Sheriff Colbert said, that the chiefs get together, the fire council gets together, just talk about that process, either one of you or both of you or whatever, and that it is a team effort and evaluated through a process before this recommendation comes forward to us.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, yes, that is correct. We have regular meetings. There is a meeting on Tuesdays, which is happening right now. And there's also a meeting on Fridays with the local DNRC, Forest Service, fire chiefs. When you get to this point, and even before this point, we're always together, always talking about conditions and what everybody thinks. It's very much a a team effort for sure. And then they give their recommendations to the fire warden, which is the sheriff. And he brings them forward, or if not, we don't bring them forward. But we try to do what is best for, or what we think is best for the county, as we always do.
And one more, so people understand, our partners, the federal government, the Forest Service has already taken this action, correct? Am I correct? And I'm not sure of the state status, but I'm assuming that we're all kind of in the same boat at this point.
Mr. Chair, that is correct. And we all try to follow each other's, otherwise it gets very convoluted and hard to enforce or do anything else.
Great. Okay. Any other questions, commissioners? Any comments? Commissioner Payne.
Are the counties surrounding us taking this step, you know?
Commissioner, yes, they are. Jefferson County has already done that, and I believe that Broadwater County is also going to follow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. How about public comment on this item? Is there any public comment? Any other comment? Oh, sure. But come on up to the microphone if you'd state your name and your role or position for the record, and then go ahead.
Scott Ward, Montana DNRC, the Helena Unit Fire Management
Well-
Officer. So the state of Montana, as far as restrictions go, we support and follow whatever counties are in. So currently our jurisdiction covers Jefferson County, Lewis and Clark County, all the counties around. But so Lewis and Clark County hasn't been in restrictions, but Jefferson County has. So in those counties, we just support their decisions to be in fire restrictions. As far as stage 1 restrictions go on state lands, they're basically always in stage 1 restrictions. You can't have campfires. But the only difference is the smoking rule. So we do fully support the local fire departments, Lewis Clark County, in going into stage 1 restrictions.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. Anything else, Anderson?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I am here for any other questions that you might have regarding this or the fire that we have in Lincoln currently.
Oh, sure. Any other questions?
No.
Yeah, quick update on that, what you know at this time. I'm sure there's more coming out right now at the meeting.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I was there till 11 o'clock or around there last night. I believe the fire is about 65 acres or in that general area. They did ask for some evacuations. It would be the Lincoln Springs area, the upper part, and then Beaver Creek from where it lies on Stonewall and above. Those places were evacuated last night. We'll reevaluate that today. There's a 10 o'clock meeting that we'll talk about it and see if we can see what we need to do in that point. I think we talked to about 66 residences last night. Some of them evacuated, some did not, as usual for a fire. But it all went well. People are very nice and considerate when we go there in a bad time like this. So that is my update for that right now. It is the Black Mountain Fire is what they're calling that. And we'll know more as the day goes by.
Thank you very much. Any questions, commissioners?
None.
Okay.
Thank you.
We can be of assistance of any kind. We're here for you. So, all right. All right, commissioners, any other comments, questions about resolution 2024-77? We've taken public comment. There is no other public comment. I will ask for a motion, please.
Chairman Hunthausen, I move that we approve or we adopt resolution 2024-77 to establish stage 1 fire restriction as described by our emergency folks here. Thank you.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve resolution 2024-77. Any further discussion? Just a thank you. Appreciate it. We know that you are evaluating this, and the team out there, the greater team, all of the jurisdictions and partners are evaluating this on an ongoing basis. And we so appreciate that you have our back as a community and out there working for us day and night. And this is our part in participating in making sure folks are safe. And I think that's really what this comes down to. We're trying to keep people safe. We're trying to keep property safe. And we don't make these decisions lightly. There's a lot that goes into it, and surely appreciate the recommendations from the teams out there. So thank you very much. All right, commissioners, with that, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. All right. Next item on the agenda is a bid award, Fairgrounds Asphalt Project.
Morning, Commission Chair, Commissioners Payne and Ralph. For the record, I'm Jess Whitford, County Construction Coordinator. On July 16th, 2024, one bid was opened for the Fairgrounds Asphalt Supply Project. The project generally consists of supplying an estimated 8,458 tons of a performance grade 7028 asphalt, utilized primarily for paving the large parking areas located directly to the east and west of the Fairgrounds Complex building in Lewis and Clark County, Montana. Funding for this project comes from an American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, known as ARPA grant award. The asphalt will be available for delivery between August 12th and October 31st, 2024. Recommendations: after review of the bid by the selection committee, staff recommends awarding the contract to the low bidder, Helena Sand and Gravel Incorporated of Helena, Montana, for the total contract amount of $695,113.80, and authorize the chair to sign all applicable contract documents. And at this time, I'd just like to add that the Fairgrounds Asphalt Bid Award is a coordination with Lewis Clark County Fairgrounds, the City of Helena, and the Lewis Clark County Public Works for the partnership interlocal agreement. And be happy to answer any questions you may have if I can.
Thank you very much. Any questions, commissioners? Just, you said it quickly in your presentation there, but the anticipated delivery time and project, it'll take place when?
It'll be anticipated to start roughly mid-August, August 12th, and go through an anticipated October 31st of this year.
Great. Thank you very much. Looking forward to that. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Any public comment on this item? How about public comment? Public comment. Seeing no public come forward. Commissioners, a motion to award this bid.
Mr. Chair, I would move to award the bid on the Fairgrounds Asphalt as explained by Mr. Whitford.
Second.
Moved and seconded to award the bid as presented. Further discussion, commissioners? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Bless you. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. All right. Next item on the agenda is task order number 15 between Lewis and Clark County and Great West Engineering. Good morning, Mr. Karlin.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. For the record, Dan Karlin, County Engineer. Before you today is task order number 15 with Great West Engineering to perform final design services needed to relocate both the existing above-ground storage tanks, or ASTs, and the existing magnesium chloride tanks to the west side of the Public Works Complex. The existing mag chloride tanks are past their usable life and will be replaced with new tanks. Preliminary design was completed in May of this year. The scope of work includes owner and stakeholder coordination with fueling system vendors to incorporate equipment into the design and specifications, plan development for the fuel ASTs, design of the mag chloride system components, which includes storage and mixing tanks, piping and valving configurations, pumping equipment, a concrete support slab, and concrete secondary containment walls, electrical engineering for both the fueling system and the mag system, and preparing final construction plans and details, technical specifications, and a final construction cost estimate. The task order is for time and materials not to exceed $27,000 and is being funded through an American Rescue Plan Act grant. Staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners approve task order number 15 with Great West Engineering in the amount of $27,000 with a contract end date of September 30th, 2024, and authorize the chair to sign. And I can answer questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Questions, commissioners? Again, you said this in your presentation, but just to reiterate, these are the storage tanks for magnesium chloride that are on site at Public Works, and we're using them, replacing them, moving them anyway, for sure. Relocation, yes.
Yes.
Just a little bit about the project and
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So this project entails moving the magnesium chloride tanks as well as our fuel storage tanks that we use to fuel our fleet, as well as many other departments within the county. This is in furtherance of our complex master plan as well. So this is coincides with that and is kind of phase one, if you will, of completing that. The idea here is to move the mag tanks over to a under the shelter, get them into a more usable location, easier to onload and offload the magnesium chloride, as well as moving the fuel tanks to a location that's more accessible to other departments as well as county or public works staff. Yeah, that's kind of the gist of it.
good. Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
So,
Please.
Dan, this is just for the design, the 27,000.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne, so this, we've completed preliminary design. So we've got things cited, we've got things sized, we've got general layout. This is to complete the final design. So really getting into the details of specifically the piping locations, the size of down to the size of the wire used to control these things. All the real details that a contractor is going to need to install this equipment.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, how about public comment on this item? Public comment, any public comment? All right, hearing none, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve task order number 15 between Lewis and Clark County and Great West Engineering as presented by Dan Karlin.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the task order as presented. Further discussion, commissioners? Thanks for the explanation, Mr. Karlin, and looking forward to the project final design here. I should have asked you about after final design when we might see the next step, but if you'd like to come up and give us that, answer that question too, that'd be great.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, so the question was when this will take place,
Likely to take place.
likely to take place. So we anticipate having this bid and awarded before December 31st of this year, with installation taking place in the, midwinter, early spring.
Thank you very much. Okay. All right, commissioners, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion?
I've got a comment.
Please. Yes.
Sometimes I've heard comments made about the county overstudies. They put all this money into studies, and there are people who think that this is, just kind of throwing money around. But when you listen to the detail as explained by Dan about even the wiring, if they don't get the right wiring and it causes a fire, people could die. And public money is being spent, and it's important that we have as much safety consideration as possible. And I've been out to the Public Works Department. That mag chloride tank looks like it's an accident waiting to happen. I'm really glad that we're getting that sort of under control. And the study that's where you start. If you don't study it, you don't have any idea how big the scope of the project will be. So good on you for studying. This needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Thanks. All right. Next item on the agenda is a grant contract between Lewis and Clark County and Montana Tech. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name is Jennifer McBroom, Supervisor for the Lewis and Clark County Water Quality Protection District. Today, the Commission will consider the grant contract with Montana Tech to have the Water Quality Protection District conduct water level monitoring in the amount of $13,500. The grant period begins July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2029. The district has been monitoring a select number of wells for over 20 years. Currently, the district monitors 162 network wells, either on a quarterly or monthly basis. The grant contract states the district collects quarterly water level measurements from 35 to 45 pre-selected network wells. The district currently monitors 42 wells for Montana Tech quarterly. All 162 static water level data is then submitted to the Montana Bureau of Mines and Geology Groundwater Information Center, which is a public statewide database for well information such as well logs, static water levels, and water quality if collected. The district also has their own public database with the most current well data, which is on the Health Department Water Quality Protection District website. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you very much. How about questions, Commissioners? Any questions? You may have mentioned this in your presentation, but we've had ongoing partnerships with TAC and with, I can't remember the federal acronym for the US, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, USGS?
Yeah, USGS and their relationship with TEC, I think, too, as well. So this is not new from the perspective of partnership with them and the work we've done in the past and all of that. So speak to that.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, yes, you are correct. We have had a partnership with USGS and Montana Bureau of Mines and Geology for a number of years. And this is actually an ongoing kind of a contract that we do that service for them. We collect those wells, we give them all our water level data. And so it does go into this GWIC. You probably heard it stated that way, but it's the Groundwater Information Center database. And all that goes into that repository and is accessible to the public.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? How about public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment? All right, hearing none, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the grant contract between Lewis and Clark County and Montana Tech as explained by Ms. McBroom.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the grant contract as presented. Further discussion, Commissioners?
Just a comment that my late father-in-law would be very pleased that we were participating with Montana Tech as alma mater.
That's great. And thank you for the explanation and the good work. I mean, I think this data is really important, especially in these times where water is a big issue, and understanding how it works the best that we can and monitoring these wells and all the work that we've been doing. It's great. And the partnerships so that it can get analyzed and reported properly out there. So thank you very much. All right. With that, Commissioners, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right. We'll move on to the next item, which is board appointments. Mr. Baltz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This is item number 7 on the agenda for you to consider today. Commissioners, you have the typical memo that is usually prepared for appointments. I'll read it into the record for your consideration. The candidates meet the qualifications for the consideration of the board, and this concerns the City County Board of Health. Justin Mergel termed out. His second term was as a city resident. Jackie Boyle, Mary Ann Dunwell, Shannon Brown, and Brett Wall applied and all live within the city limits. The next one is Lisa Kaufman, member position with expertise in environmental health. Lisa Kaufman wishes reappointment. No other applications were received with environmental health experience. The next one, Commissioners, is Catherine Weber, county member at large, first term expired June 30, 2024. Catherine Weber wishes reappointment. Sherry Ann O's Mosley and Jill Sark applied and live in the county outside the city limits. Action, staff recommends that the Commissioners consider the applicants and select a candidate for the City County Board of Health as the city member at large to a term that expires June 30, 2027. And Mr. Chair and Commissioners, there are three of these. I'm sure you see that on the memo. The next one is staff recommends that the Commissioners consider the candidate for reappointment as the board member with environmental health experience to a second term that expires June 30, 2027. And then finally, staff recommends that the Commissioners consider the applicants and select a candidate for the City County Board of Health as the county member at large to a term that expires June 30, 2027. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you very much. Questions, Commissioners?
Yes, I've got a question.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I've received three mails, I believe, from the health officer, Ms. Neiman, requesting that we support individuals for each of these positions. And it seems to be a conflict of interest to me, or appears as a conflict of interest for this, for the health officer to be making recommendations for the board that oversees, monitors, and hires her. And I don't think that it's necessarily an intended thing, but that's how it could be interpreted. I'd like to ask Mr. Baltz if we have other boards where the board hires or is involved in recommending the hiring of a manager for that department, and where they would be have that kind of influence.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I'm not recalling any other boards or committees that have a formal supervisory role of hiring any of our county employees. We, as you know, we have many counties and boards, and they play an advisory role for the most part.
As a follow-up, I'd like to ask Ms. Neiman if it was her intent to have undue influence on the people that are supervising her.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, my name is Brenda Neiman. I am the Health Officer, Department Director for Lewis and Clark Public Health. It was not my intent to have undue influence. My intent was to provide you with information that I have to help you all make the decision of the appointment to the Board of Health.
Thank you. And I take you at your word that that was not your intent. And I'm wondering if you might be able to see where there could be a public perception of that.
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Ralph, yes, certainly public perception, which I, of course, don't have any control over, but certainly can see where you're making your point. Thank you.
Thank you. Because of that, I'm not going to be able to vote for any of the recommendations that she made. And I just want to state that up front. And I feel like she did not intend that to come across that way, but I believe there is a perception of undue influence over someone who is to be supervising them, her, and to be directing the health department. So I will just, nothing against those people, but I believe that there is a perception there, and I will not be able to vote for any of the people that she recommended.
Thanks, Commissioner. Anything else from your perspective?
One comment in response to Commissioner Rolfe's statement. One of these individuals, Lisa Kaufman, currently sits on the board, and she is the only person with expertise in environmental health. She wants to be reappointed. She was also one that Ms. Neiman recommended. I'm sitting on that board now. I think Ms. Kaufman does a good job, and I'm hoping that Tom will not. We don't have any other choice. We are very fortunate in this board appointment. I think we had 9 applicants, and I don't know of any other board where we have that kind of interest in a board. So just and I'm thrilled that we have good applicants. I called and talked to several of the applicants and to the ones that I didn't know. And I'm just very impressed that we have this kind of qualified people interested in our public health board.
Thank you.
If I might,
Sure.
respond. I think that maybe we need to delay that decision so there we don't present an appearance that is inappropriate. And I would recommend that we delay the decision and make a public request for additional applicants for that position. And because I believe the position is, or the appointment of that person is tainted inadvertently by the actions of the health officer. So I would move that we not make a recommendation at this time for the board member with the environmental, biological, chemical, engineering experience, and make a public request for other applicants.
Well, I'll second it for the purpose of discussion, but I haven't had an opportunity to weigh in here yet. And though I absolutely appreciate Commissioner Rolfe's sentiments and appreciate the the focus on the appearance and all of that kind of stuff. There are a couple of things. One is that for the members that are already on the board, and for nearly every board and committee that we have in the county, this one included, no matter the interaction with the health officer, if we have board members that have served their first term and they have served that term without problem, that there's no issues with those board members, it is almost 100%. I don't know if it's 100%, but almost 100% in my experience that we've allowed those members to serve their second term. We've appointed them to their second term. So that one isn't very controversial to me at all. The other one, though these folks do have a unique role, the Board of Health has a unique role in supervising it to some degree and hiring the health officer. It is very common for all of our boards and committee, from my experience since I've been here, that we often have some level of communication with our directors and supervisors or the people that work with these boards, and whether it's the fair board or the parks board or any other committee or board, and we ask them, what are your needs for the position? What might you be looking for? What needs do you have to fill? And sometimes it's, well, we really need someone from the environmental sector, or it'd be great to have a lawyer on our board, or it'd be great. And so those are just considerations that we have when we look at the applicants, because we're not, though we sit on many of these boards, we're not in the room all the time on all the boards. So it's great to get the input, from my perspective, from those people that have to work with those boards on a day-to-day or month-to-month basis, and their unique needs that they might need for those committees or boards. So I have no issue with the ones that are already on there and considering reappointment for them. And then the other one, I think it's been stated by the health officer that Jackie Boyle would be her preference because of her unique skills, from what I can see. And if those skills are going to help the Board of Health do their work, I don't have much issue with that. But I do respect the comments, and that, if there was attempting to have undue influence, but I take the health officer at her word as well, that she's trying to fill her board with those expertise, those types of experts that can best help them do their work. So with that, I'm not planning to, well, I'm not going to ask for a vote yet. I'm just saying I'm not going to support the motion that's on the table right now, but we have further discussion. Yes, go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, one of the concerns I have is I'm so thrilled with the number of applicants. And if we go in lockstep with the people who have been there, the, people who currently sit on the board, I'm concerned that sends a message that we aren't interested in getting any new blood, or we don't, if people apply, they don't have a chance anyway. I really think that we need to look at some of the new applicants. One of the comments that came up about the qualifications for Jackie Boyle is she's got a law degree. Well, I talked to Shannon Brown and he's got a law degree too. So this is not it's not a one size fits all. And Marianne Dunwell is a well-known legislator, works very hard. And it seems that one of the things the county bangs its head against is lack of understanding in the legislature as to how our county runs and how we spend the money. And I think having people who are in the legislature, and I believe Jill Sark is also running for the legislature. I believe Marianne is a Democrat and Jill is a Republican. And it just seems to me that this is a really good opportunity for us to have a voice directly to the legislature. Whereas if we don't take advantage of these new candidates, they kind of, we're sending a message and we don't care, we don't want your input, we'll stick with the ones we've got. So that's my concerns.
If I might respond, as you know, the health board is comprised of a county commissioner, a member of the Helena City Commission, and the mayor of East Helena, and then 6 more people, a total of 9. The 6 more people are the superintendent of schools for District 1, or a representative designated by District 1, a licensed doctor of medicine practicing in Lewis and Clark County, a professional person with experience in the field of environmental, biological, chemical, and engineering sciences. And then there are 3 consumer members, one who has some knowledge about healthcare, environmental, and human services, one who is chosen at large from the population in the county, and one who is chosen at large from those residing in the city of Helena. So the only opportunity for true consumers of healthcare to be represented on this health board, which is given the right to have full supervision and control over all matters pertaining to the prevention of disease and promotion of public health within the county and the cities. But the only opportunity for true consumers to be involved are in those last 3 positions. So I think it's really important that we get people who don't necessarily have a health background. It would make it easier for them to have questions answered. And when difficult things come up, as we've seen over the last couple of years, if we had 2 or 3 people, 3 people from the board, general consumers of healthcare, if they were on board supporting the activities of the health department, they'd be a better advocate with the folks out there, the 90% of us that don't have direct involvement in healthcare. I think we've inadvertently made it more difficult for us to have a healthcare organization that is really responsive to the questions and the needs of the people by not having people who aren't involved in healthcare. And yes, it would be probably easier for the health board. You wouldn't have to answer as many questions if you had people that are already there. But I think that we serve the people better by having true consumers of healthcare in those three, rather than people who are already deeply involved in healthcare. The people who are deeply involved in healthcare are really fully represented, not only with the staff, but in the rest of the board members who have to be healthcare related people with a licensed doctor, a professional person with experience in the field of environmental, biological, chemical. I think that those three positions need to have people that are true consumers, and I think we would make it in the long run, make it easier for the health department to sell its position. It would be great to have people from the outside world who are willing to, who understand budgeting. We've gone through a several-year process where we've had trouble with the budgeting in the health department. Finally, I think we made some great strides this time. But if we had people among those consumers who were deeply involved in budgeting in a private business or in their own, they understood budgeting in their personal life, it might have made it easier for us to have not struggle so much to get the budgets handled properly with the health department. If we get too ingrown by not including people from the general public, I really believe that we are creating a disservice to the folks who are trying to lead our health. So I think we need to go to folks that don't necessarily have a background there, and that are true consumers of healthcare. And that's an additional reason in my mind for not supporting those people, because they all are deeply involved, seem to be deeply involved in healthcare. They aren't true consumers. They aren't members at large. And I think we need people who are that way. And I think it'll make it a better operation in the long run.
Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate it. Further comment?
I would take issue with, excuse me, with Commissioner Rolf's statement that these people are not consumers of healthcare. Tom, we are all consumers of healthcare.
Absolutely.
And we all have families.
Go ahead.
We all have families, my mother, father, uncle, children, the neighbors. We have day-to-day experience. And it doesn't matter if you are, you work at the Department of Health and Human Services, or if you're a doctor, or what other your jobs are. We all interact with people who are consumers of healthcare, and Lord knows, especially those of us of a mature status, we have interaction with public health issues. I have some concern with putting in the past several years, it has seemed to me that, and I'm thinking about term limits for the legislature and how It seemed like a great idea at the time because we get rid of all those old ideas. Now, I feel like we are missing a lot of the knowledge of those people who had served, who had expertise at figuring out the way to meet, to bring people together instead of just trying to get them to fight. And if we put people who do not understand any of the processes that this board has kind of brought together, has worked on over the years, that it may lead us to a more of a controversial situation rather than a problem-solving situation. So I just want to caution that we need to be careful what we wish for. People with experience, they've been there and have already, they've worked on solving problems and they've looked out and seen what happens if we don't try to reach a consensus. If all we do is beat on the door and say, no, 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 that doesn't work. We need to work together. And I just, I'm not saying we shouldn't have any of the experienced people. But I think we need to look carefully to make sure these are problem solvers and not just flamethrowers.
With due respect to your concerns, I really believe that we have erred far too much on the other side of not having anybody who were true consumers on the board, who could empathize with the results of decisions, who could vocally support the board as a consumer, not as a health professional. And I think it would make the operation of the health board far more effective to have true consumers, true members of the public at large involved in this as a member of this board. We have obviously had problems with properly doing budgets by having people who were so engrossed in the healthcare on this board that they didn't look at the reality of how much the taxes are going up, and it's taken us a lot of extra effort to get the budgeting into a reasonable area. And I believe that with all the high emotions that occurred during the COVID pandemic, if we had had some true consumers there who could speak as true consumers, they might have toned down the rhetoric a little bit that coming from the department, and we might have eliminated some of the angst and anger that spewed out across the community. I think by doing it the way we've done it before, with only healthcare professionals really on the board, we have done a disservice, and we haven't listened to the people who are being served by healthcare, who aren't necessarily health professionals. It's more representative of the public at large. Most of us are not healthcare professionals. We are going about the rest of our life, and when important decisions have to be made, we have to take those folks into consider as well. So I really believe holding those three positions open for true consumers, true members of the public at large, we make the health department more effective.
Thanks to both commissioners. Really appreciate your comments. And what I'd say about this, just to remind us, kind of simplify the thing a bit, is that we have a policy within the county for all of our boards and committees that they can serve up to 6 years, 2 3-year terms. So typically, if we have appointed someone to a board and they have served admirably, and they come to the end of their first term. We have strongly considered that service and traditionally have appointed, we don't have to, but we've traditionally appointed them to a second term to fill out that full 6 years. In terms of the open seat here, the Board of Health or the health officer's recommendation is just a recommendation. We don't have to follow it. That's just her recommendation. But I would say this has been open. These are the people that have applied to fill that seat. So these are the ones that we have that are interested from our community that have applied to fill that seat. So from my perspective, I think we should choose one from that group. It doesn't have to be the health officer's recommendation. That's just her recommendation. It's just one recommendation. The other two, I think if they've served admirably, then we should let them serve out their term. The other thing I would say is that I might have to get a definition of what we're talking about with consumers, because the Board of Health is not healthcare like your doctor's office. It's not overseeing that or providing physical health, those kinds of things that partner with, of course, the physical health community, but it is really looking at public health from food safety, from pool safety, from vaccinations, from those programs that exist, Healthy Babies, the WIC program. They're looking at from a public, and then the environmental health side of things, public health from natural disasters and those kinds of perspectives. It's not the doctor's office kind of consumers that we're talking about. So to have expertise in certain areas on the Board of Health is really important. And so I see that, but I also see Commissioner Rolfe's point of saying, hey, do we have the average Joe participating or the average Jane participating in our Board of Health decisions for the community? And I appreciate that. However, we advertise this to the general public. Anyone can apply to be on the Board of Health. And these are the applicants we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 for this open seat. And I think that we should choose from that applicant pool and move forward. I would encourage us to make a decision today, move forward. I have no problem with the reappointments. If we want to appoint some other sector or more general public kind of sector without specific expertise, we could do that at the end of their terms of service or the next term of service that comes open. But I would prefer to allow people to serve their 6 years if they would like to do that. And then the open seat, I'm open to talking about any one of those candidates. We have a recommendation for the Board of the Health Officer, but we don't have to follow that recommendation. So that's I guess where I am. So further discussion, commissioners?
Well, the motion that I made was to at this point defer the appointment of the individual, the county member at large, no, I'm sorry. Yes, no, I'm sorry.
The city member?
The city
City resident.
My appointment was to take that one where there is no other person. This is Ms. Coughlin.
Oh, Ms. Kaufman.
With expertise in that area. My motion was to wait and advertise that position more to see if there's someone else. And like I say, I feel is because of it, I cannot vote for her. Not anything against her, but because of the perception of undue influence.
Okay, so the motion on the table then is, and seconded by me, is to postpone appointment of that position and re-advertise it. Is that essentially it? Okay. And I've said I'm going to oppose that motion because I think I'm fine with reappointing her to another term of service, but we will take it to a vote at this point. So all in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Would you restate the motion?
The motion is to
We're only
Lisa
segregating-
Kaufman who's that seat, the member position with expertise in environmental health. Commissioner Rolfe moved to postpone the appointment of that position and reopen it for more applicants. And I seconded that motion. We've been discussing, so
Mhm.
so all in favor of the motion, Commissioner Rolfe said aye. Is there any other in favor? Okay, all opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that motion failed, 2-1. Do we want to stay on that particular one, the position that is held by Lisa Kaufman, and make a motion to reappoint? Is there a motion to reappoint her?
So moved.
Second. Okay, discussion.
Like I said, I cannot support that. I believe that this is an opportunity to put somebody from the public on that. Would very much support Ms. Mosley. She just recently sold her business. She's a local business person. She has extremely good business sense. It would be a great deal of help on budgeting, and she is a local consumer of healthcare. So I would not support reappointment.
Okay, Commissioner, any comments? I would just reiterate that I think Ms. Kaufman's served without trouble. It does fill that expertise in environmental health, and has requested a second term. And unless there has been issues, which we have not aware of any issues there, then I would honor her with a second term.
It just when I think the opportunity is there. I think taking one of these consumer positions and putting it and forcing us away from a true consumer to a person who is already involved heavily in healthcare is absolutely the wrong place to go. Nothing against Ms. Weber, but I think we need a true consumer in this position. If we don't put a true consumer of healthcare, someone who's not actively involved in it, we are setting ourselves up for serious problems the next time we have an issue of importance that comes before our county in our health department, by not appearing to care about folks. The vast majority of folks, the vast majority of folks who are not involved in healthcare, and not giving them a voice on this board.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So I would urge that we not support the reappointment. But that we put in a true consumer of healthcare.
I'm a little confused, Tom. I think we are only talking about Lisa Kaufman, not Catherine Weber, or
Is that what?
we are talking only about the one position that doesn't have any other.
So you're saying reappoint.
What?
So this is just on Kaufman.
For Lisa Kaufman.
I misunderstood the motion then.
Only for Lisa Kaufman.
Okay.
And I would argue that I really appreciate the comments, but I would argue that when the Board of Health has to make decisions around environmental health or variances regarding septic systems that are in out of compliance or out of the norm, they have to make all of these decisions. And having somebody that has expertise in environmental health and understands the laws, understands the way those things work is really important for making those decisions. And it turns out to be the best for the consumer in that those folks that are asking for variances from wastewater rules or something like that, that the Board of Health has jurisdiction over, that it really helps to have somebody that understands that work and that information. So I think Lisa Kaufman fills that position well for us for this one spot. So I will support her.
And I just would like to really reiterate what it says in the founding documents, that position should be a consumer of health services with experience and or knowledge in healthcare, environmental or health or human services.
And I would believe that she
And
fills
so
that.
I think that we're again we're doing the wrong thing. If you're going to go back to the president, I guess I'm outvoted.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second on the table.
The motion is to, let's restate the motion.
Reappoint Lisa Kaufman to a second term on the Board of Health.
And I seconded it.
Right.
And Mr. Chair, just point of order, be sure to call for public
Oh,
comment.
thank you. Is there any public comment? Thank you. Appreciate it. Any public comment on this particular motion? Any public comment? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay. And again, nothing negative about Ms. Kaufman. I just feel the perception is wrong because of the influence on this of the health officer.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, so let's take up Catherine Weber's position, which is county member at large. First term expired June 30th, 2024. She wishes reappointment. We have Sherry Ann O's Mosley and Jill Stark that have applied. And this is a person that lives in the county outside the city limits.
I would move to appoint Sherry Ann O's Mosley to that position.
I'll second it for discussion purposes.
I was able to talk to the other applicant, Jill Sark, on the phone. She is running for the legislature. She's been very active in political arenas in our community. Sherry Ann O's Mosley, I looked at her. I was not able to talk to her on the phone, but I think she would be an equally good candidate. And I think that I like the idea of getting somebody with numbers background as a part of this board. So we've got somebody who can help us dig through the budgeting process as we continue down this road. So Sherry Ann O's Mosley, I think, would be a good fit.
Okay. And I would just state again that I appreciate people who have stepped up and been appointed in the past, and if they've served admirably, that to be reappointed to a second term is great. And I usually honor that. I have nothing against the other candidates, and they'd probably be great, but I would, in this case, typically allow Catherine Weber to serve another term and consider someone else at the end of that term or when the next person comes up. But you know, that's just me. So you moved to Sherry Ann Bose? Okay. Any other comments? How about public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment? Okay. Commissioners, there's a motion and a second to appoint Sherry Ann O's Mosley to fill the position of county member at large, held by Catherine Weber at this time. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Aye. Thank you. Okay. And commissioners, just a reminder, this is how it's supposed to work. We're not always agreeing on everything. And, you know,
I can't
discussing
remember.
the issues.
I can't remember the last time we had a real, that it wasn't a 3-0 vote. So
No.
this is probably good for us.
This is one of the things about working on this commission that I appreciate, is that even though we may disagree, we respect each other's opinions. Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so the next one that we have to appoint is Justin Mergel's term has termed out. He was in his second term as a city resident. So we have Jackie Boyle, Marianne Dunwell, Shannon Brown, and Brett Wall have applied. They live within the city.
Mr. Chair, I would move to appoint Brett Wall. And the reason I make that motion is because the other three people all are deeply involved in healthcare. They are not true consumers of health. He is a longtime Helena member who's recently retired from the Department of Labor and has the time and the interest.
Second it for discussion
yeah.
purposes?
Yeah.
Discussion?
Okay, I guess I talked to Shannon Brown. He is, he's very interested in the suicide, helping people whose families have been involved in a suicide. He's an attorney at the Department of Health, so yes, he is involved up there, but he understands, I'm pretty sure he understands how the rules in the Department of Health work. I was quite impressed with when I visited with him on the phone. I did not talk to Brett Wall. There's only so many phone calls you can do. Marianne Dunwell, I recognize that people are concerned that she won't have time to participate in this Board of Health because she works so hard on the legislature. But I've always felt if you need to get something done, ask a busy person to do it. They'll figure out how to get it done. Whereas if you've got somebody with a lot of time on their hands, they're maybe not as efficient. So I am.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just kicking this around. I don't have as much information on Brett Wall as I do on the other three candidates. So, but that's my problem.
Mr. Chair, I guess the three people other than Brett Wall are all actively involved. Mr. Shannon Brown works actively at the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services. Marianne Denwell has worked in the healthcare industry, and Jackie Boyle is actively involved as with Mountain Health Co-op. I just think it's important that we make some changes, that we get consumers of health on that board who will ask the questions to help the health board be more effective when the vast majority of our citizens are not health professionals. When the health department brings out a decision, it needs to be understandable to the average person. And unless we have people who are consumers of health on this health board, we are not going to be able to. We miss the opportunity to be able to explain it in ways that the vast majority of our public will understand. That's why I've nominated Mr. Wall.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. And the characterization of the other three being all healthcare professionals, Shannon Brown's an attorney, right?
Mm-hmm.
He does work for the Department of Health and Human Services, but he's an attorney, and having those kinds of expertise on the board is important so that the board doesn't get askew as well. I could support Shannon Brown or Jackie Boyle. Either one of them would be okay with me. I think they would be my first top two choices. So, but we have Mr. Wall on the floor right now. Any further discussion? And I guess I would just say that Board of Health makes decisions that are really public health related. The pandemic was a time that is, I don't want to relitigate that anyway, but I think the Board of Health did the best they could with what they had, and they were not in control of all things. There's lots of decisions coming down from above them, federal government, state government, those kinds of things. And to have folks that can really look at public health issues and the rules and regs that are around public health and give best advice on that is really important. So I think in normal times, which we're back into now, I think having some of that expertise on there really can make a difference in how they go forward. So I think one of those two candidates are my first two choices. So I could support one of them.
With all due respect, Mr. Chair, I just am sold on the idea that we don't want it to become too inbred that it can't communicate with the public. And unless we have true consumers of healthcare, true members at large of the community, we are going to wind up talking to ourselves and not being effective in the way we communicate with our community. And I think the added angst we had as we went through the pandemic is an indication of how badly we need true consumers of healthcare on that board to help state things properly and make sure that things are financially correct.
So, Commissioner Rolfe, I guess I need to understand what you mean by true consumer, because like Chad Brown, he's an attorney in our community, consumes healthcare, goes home and to work just like you and me and anybody else, and would probably be a valued member of that board in terms of understanding how to look at the laws and rules around public health and how to best respond to things. So for that as an example, it seems like I guess I don't understand what you mean by consumer, because this isn't about, like I said, it's not about healthcare consumers who are going to the doctor's office. It's really about public health and the issues that public health oversees.
Might I comment, please? Tom, it's my turn. One of the reasons that Ms. Neiman gave for supporting Jackie Boyle is she has a law degree. She obviously can read well and communicate well. And since we are talking about trying to get people in there who are not already in there, it seems to me that Shannon Brown, who is also an attorney and can communicate and write and reason based on, he's got a law degree. I think that he might serve the concerns of Drenda, as well as providing expertise that we need. So he is not, and I hesitate to use the term on the team of Brenda. He's somebody new. He's a new face, new ideas. And I really think that, and I'm looking at the application from Mr. Wall, and I'm not sure that he has good communication skills, which would be needed. I mean, this is his reasons to run, or he wants to serve on this board so I can go give back to the wonderful community of Lewis and Clark County. And he wants to help keep our residents safe and protected. Well, that doesn't give us a whole lot of information on who he is. Or his experience is in, he's a church member and he is worked at the Department of Labor, Workers' Compensation Compliance. And I'm sure he's smart man and well-versed in a lot of things. But I think we really need somebody who can pick the details. For example, on this board, every once in a while, I point out something like it should be 23 instead of 21. It's some little detail. And I do that because of my training as a lawyer to look for details. And I'm thinking that we need that sort of detail-oriented reading ability and knowledge of how matters work. And so with that, I would propose help me here, I'd like to propose an amendment to the motion to change Brett Wall to Shannon Brown as the candidate.
It might be simpler to just vote on the motion we have and then have a new motion, if that's okay with you.
Is it, I
Yeah.
keep looking over there. Okay.
Likely, if you want to weigh in, you're welcome to, but I think that's the cleanest way to do it. It's just
Okay,
act on the motion that's on the table. So
all
I
right.
think Mr. Wall is on the table. And I think we've taken public comment. If there's any public comment, any public comment? Anything else, commissioners? Exhaust our discussion and we'll vote on appointing Mr. Wall or not. All in favor of Mr. Wall signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Is there another motion?
I move that we appoint Shannon Brown as the city resident filling the term on the City County Board of Health.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion, commissioners?
And I'm sure Mr. Brown will be a good person. I think it will be a different view. I question because of his position, but I'll vote with you on this one.
All right, thank you. And I have numbered them. I had Jackie Boyle as my number one pick. So I'm compromising as well from my perspective anyway. So we're all in that role, and I just appreciate the discussion and all of the debate. It is part of what we're supposed to do. It's not supposed to be pretty or clean. It's a little messy. Local government's a little messy, and that's how it's supposed to work. So we have to work through these issues. So with that, commissioners, I guess, did I take public comment? Any public comment on this item? Any public comment? With that, commissioners, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. We all got a little bit and all didn't get a little bit. I guess that's how it's supposed to work.
You bet.
Next item on the agenda is public comment that is under the jurisdiction of the commission, but not on today's agenda. Any further public comment? Any further public comment? Hearing none, commissioners, thank you. We'll stand adjourned.
Thank you.